Hey everybody, welcome to Jobs Not Steve, and this is another episode talking about jobs and the people that do them. And today, again, I have my favorite co-hosts here with me. Sorry, all the other co-hosts who are listening, but Dylan is my favorite. So Dylan, say hello for everybody.
What's going on, everybody?
And thank you again, Dylan, for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
I always
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time. One of these days, I'm going to give you some gas money or something.
We'll figure that out.
And we have an awesome guest with us today. Today we have a tattoo artist, which is really awesome because I don't know about you, Dylan. I've always wondered what it's like to be a tattoo artist.
I'm a bit of a fan.
For the listeners that can't see.
I've spent a couple hours in the
chair. He's pretty much
chair.
head to toe, and I'm not about to ask him to show me if he actually is head to toe, but he is one.
A few parts in
tribal
between
being.
I don't want to show you, but it's all right.
He is covered in tattoos. I myself only have two, and they were both done by this person. So, yeah, and I have just gotten into the world of tattooing, and it's definitely interesting, and I hope it's interesting for you guys out there. And yeah, let's get into it. So my guest here is Laura. So Laura, say hello.
Hi.
Hi. So Laura, you're a tattoo artist. Obviously. So how long have you been tattooing?
Close to 6 years. Going on 6 years now.
6 years tattooing.
Yeah.
And is that 6 years professionally, like licensed, or is like when did you pick up the gun?
So it's not a gun. Don't call it a gun. It's a machine.
It's a tattoo machine.
Thank you.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Biggest
Jeez,
pet
Luke.
peeve. I'm saying.
Hey man,
though.
I got two. You got like freaking 200. She is just covered head to toe. So cut me some slack, guys.
So machine. Yep.
So it's a tattoo machine.
Tattoo machine.
Why is it not called a tattoo gun?
Because it's not a gun. It doesn't
It's
shoot
a mechanical
things.
machine.
Yeah.
It looks like a gun. Why did
I mean, the newer ones. Some of the newer ones don't. They look like.
was it ever
pens.
called a tattoo gun, or am I just completely wrong?
Only
It
by
depends on. I assume that's like a
non-tattooers.
regional thing.
Uh,
It depends
Kind
on
of like a
who-
hoagie versus a
A
It's
packy.
where you are and
A
how
packy
familiar
versus-
you are with the industry.
okay.
Right. So.
So I'm
most-
not familiar, so I call it a gun, and
Right.
you guys are familiar, and you're like, you freaking amateur.
Yes. Basically.
All right, so everybody out there, if you don't want to sound like an amateur while you're talking about tattooing, don't call it a gun.
Machine only.
It is
ever.
a tattoo machine.
Yes.
All right, and luckily we have a machine with us as well, a tattooing machine,
Thank you.
Laura.
I try. So, okay, I've been tattooing about 6 years. So the first year and a half was my apprenticeship, which you're not licensed for that. You do have to get registered with the state, at least in Connecticut, to be an apprentice. And then you have to have like crazy amount of hours under a licensed tattoo artist before you can actually get your license. Plus OSHA training, first aid training, all that shit.
So I want to get right into it here. We're going to change it up, and I'm just going to say, has there been people that asked you to do tattoos that you just absolutely do not want to do on them because of
Oh, all the fucking
like,
time.
their like body type or sanitary or
Oh
like,
my god, yeah. I was tattooing.
Do you have to tattoo smelly people?
Yes. And it sucks because I feel
We're
like it
just gonna
affects
do-
the quality of the tattoo.
It-
I was tattooing a dude's wrist one time and his hands straight up smelled like butt. Like, he was definitely scratching his ass the whole way to the shop. No doubt about it. So I had to, like, tattoo him from the side and, like, try and
Stay
work
away from his
around
hand.
it.
Were
'cause
you,
it
so you
just-
weren't tattooing his hands. You were.
It was his wrist, but his hand was, like, in my face.
You have to hold his
It
hand
was-
to stretch the skin,
Right,
right? So
exactly.
you're done.
So
At
my
that
face
point,
is
you're
right
Well, this during
here.
COVID, at
Yeah.
least you're gonna be like, here, some Purell. You know, let's sanitize your hand
Oh.
real quick.
I use extra alcohol and green soap before we put the
I mean,
stencil
you're
For
in.
real, and I'm, like, spraying it
Yeah.
all over.
Yeah, hold on,
like,
let me give you a
this
bath
whole
quick.
person-
It's a weird job.
And,
You're
like,
up in people's shit. I mean,
It's
a
very,
very
you are
personal.
up in people's shit. So if you're getting your ankles tattooed, people, please wash your fucking feet because
Oh
there's
god,
nothing
like
worse
you're wearing
than
like a dirty,
smelling.
like oh my god, like a
Like-
crock that you've been wearing forever. They're sweaty,
It's
nasty.
so gross. Like, don't just.
I
be
would see
sanitary.
personally, I would never ever imagine going to a tattoo parlor with.
You're a half
Like-
decent human being. Most people aren't half decent human beings.
I'm just
So
going
you
like
gotta
because
know.
I'm thinking about
And
it.
you
I'm like,
gotta remember too, like this is relatively mainstream now. back in the day, only dirtbags, convicts, and military people were getting tattooed. So imagine what they were dealing with in the fucking. It was bikers.
But yeah, okay.
No, it's true though. And
So
that's why
it
there's
was
such
it
a
was
stigma.
bikers, military,
Yep.
and those were the only people. It was convicts, bikers, military.
Is that where the?
That was it.
Is that why like it's so taboo or whatever? Like
Yep.
you were a badass motherfucker if you got a tattoo
That's where
because
the
you broke the
stigma came
standards of this, like society. You were
Right.
like, fuck society.
Yep.
I got an income, and then everybody else like out there would be like, oh my god, he's got a tattoo. Don't fuck with him.
The guy I always went
And then the
always
people
said-
that you saw tattoos were like, all right, he cool.
tattooing,
Like,
tattooing and prostitution are the two oldest professions in human society.
no shit.
That's what he
Well,
always said.
I
And
do
the-
feel that you'd be a good
That's
host
what
for
he
this
always
show.
said.
And the history of tattooing goes beyond that. I mean,
Way
it goes
back to tribal, absolutely. Oh
and
yeah.
the Maoris,
Yep.
and then the history in Japanese tattooing and
Yep.
culture.
Who
Super
did it first?
interesting.
Does anybody know?
The Polynesian Maori and Maoris
We're the first.
is
to
the
do it.
first dated, at least.
Were you taught that in tattoo school?
There is no tattoo school, and if anybody wants to go to a tattoo school, they can fuck off and die.
So let me ask you
Because
something.
You gotta fucking earn that shit. Not everybody can be a tattoo artist.
Now let me ask you, when did they start doing certification? When did Connecticut start doing certifications? 'Cause I've been out of it for a while, probably
hold on.
7, 8
Whoa,
years.
hold on.
Back then,
Dylan, are you
there was
telling me-
nothing.
are you
You
like
just went, you learned, you do
Are
whatever
you
you
like
want.
a ghost tattoo artist that I didn't know about? Is this
No, I spent a lot of time in the
I
shop.
thought you like
My
were an
good
operator.
friend-
What's going
Yeah,
on?
no.
Man? Like,
Listen, dude, I've done everything.
oh my god, Dylan!
I've tattooed myself a
I did
couple
not
of
know
times.
that
Same.
Dylan was
Beyond that,
was
I've
a
never
closet
tattooed somebody
tattooer.
else.
Shit's not easy, is it?
And I was always, you don't tattoo somebody else until you do it to yourself. And I
Right.
wanted to do it at the time, but I just, between all my other work, I had to make the paycheck that I was making. I wasn't willing to take, it's a risk.
It is.
You take a
and
risk financially and, you know,
So when
you
I
know. To
what,
started
tattoo somebody?
tattooing,
absolutely, because you're not making any money. You're basically
Correct.
covering your setup.
Dylan, are you an artist?
So
too?
what does it cost? Back then it was $40 is what it cost. Back then to tattoo somebody between your needles, your tubes, you know, your ink. Back then, like this was right
Back
before
then, what-
disposable.
It
When we say back then,
2005.
okay.
You know, like, it's not that
2005,
far,
back then.
But a lot of
Back
stuff
in
has
my
changed.
day.
I love it.
But a lot of
Back
stuff
in
has
my day.
changed since
2005.
2005. Like disposable tubes weren't as prevalent as they are now. I don't know how you feel about that for stainless steel, but like that was before, you know.
You mean the
everything had
sanitary
bills.
aspect?
So the
of
only
tattooing
thing
is
you were
what you're
buying
talking about,
was
or-
your ink and your
well, you were
needles.
still sanitizing the metal, the stainless steel tubes
But-
and grips.
Exactly,
but
but your cost
they
was
were-
lower because
so-
it was an ultrasonic cleaner.
Correct.
You're doing
And
that
the
all
reason-
So
separate.
for our listeners,
So
nobody knows what tubes
Okay.
It's a
are
meta-
or anything.
okay.
Like,
So-
unless you
Through the whole
unless you
thing.
tattooed or you're into tattooing. But
Right.
for anybody who doesn't tattoo, I mean, are these parts of the machine, not the gun?
Thank you.
Like,
Absolutely.
what are these parts of the machine?
yes,
This is the.
and it depends. So things are so different now.
I'm-
Most people don't even use coil machines anymore.
All rotary now, right?
It's all rotary or direct drive motors.
the only rotary
So-
I know is like a Mazda RX.
It's the same. It's the
Same thing,
Exact
Same
smaller
thing.
package.
Oh,
It
beautiful.
actually kind of is because
Can I put it in a
it's
scooter?
Just
It is.
Probably
It's a
could.
smaller motor. That's all it is.
It is. So it
Yep.
is an actual just.
It's a rotary motor.
so it is a rotary motor.
just
The
spin
direct
around.
drives are a little bit different than the rotaries, which I have coils. They're just a pain in the ass to set up.
So is it literally just a spring with a needle and this motor just spinning around, just pushing this
That's the coil
Essentially,
one.
that's-
needle down and just doing
exactly.
the
Well, so the
stabbing
coil
motion?
ones work through electromagnetics, which is a whole other situation. But the rotary motor is just essentially a rotary motor.
Electromagnetics like your basic power drill, right? Kind of like you know,
Correct.
like brushes.
Yeah, so
brushes,
basically you have an
basically.
armature and a spring, and that bounces up and down because of the magnetic forces opposed
Oh,
to
man,
each
Right.
other.
we were
So that
getting
was,
into
But
yeah.
they're really, really finicky, and there's a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of maintenance to them, and you have to set up multiple
And you gotta
machines.
spend good money. The cheap
and-
ones, you can fight all you want, no matter how much you set them up. You're
What
always
does a machine?
tinkering.
Yeah, what does a tattoo
And-
machine go for? Like, what is
Well,
a
that
modern day tattoo machine?
totally depends too. I mean, I have.
Oh, so there's variable, like there's
Oh,
like
yeah.
cheap ones and more
You get
expensive
a
ones.
I have
$50 one up
ones-
to 5,000 or more.
Right. I have ones worth $1,500, $2,000, and I have ones worth a few $100. You can get them on Amazon for fucking $40. I do not encourage people to do that. Don't do stupid shit. You know how many people say to me, "I'm just gonna buy my own."
Black & Decker tattoo
Yeah.
gun.
That's forever.
And
It hurts a lot more to have them removed, I've heard. Than it does
oh,
to
it
get
does.
them.
I've had that too.
I've never had one removed, but I heard it hurts a lot more, and it's probably a lot
way
more
worse
expensive.
and way more expensive.
I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up with this phrase: "It's easier to get into something than it is to get out of it." Right?
I like
mean,
that.
that's kind of the same.
I wish somebody told me that, young. Jesus
I remember
Christ.
that when I got my foot stuck in a piece of playground equipment. And my best friend at the time was like, my mom always, like a Forrest
My
Gump,
mom
like
always
literally
said.
Forrest Gump style, was like, my mom always said it's easier to get in something than it is to get out of it.
That
And I was
sassy
like, that's
motherfucker.
awesome, man. Thank you so much. I'm still stuck. Can you go get somebody?
Yeah.
Get my fucking
Situation.
foot
I'll
outta
try
here.
to remember that next time.
And
Shut
that
up,
for some
Billy.
reason like stuck with me forever, and I was like, no shit, that was a fucking life lesson that I never forgot. My best friend's mom who passed it on to me when my sneaker was stuck in this stupid playground equipment. I'm like, I can't move, bro.
Crazy.
You gotta help me out. It's easier to get stuck in, like Forrest Gump style, no shit. It's easier to get stuck in something than it is to get
Moms
out
know, man.
of it.
Moms know.
So that's another reason why it's got to be such an interesting field to be in, because you're like, all right, person, are you sure you want to permanently put this shit on you forever?
Well, and there's, so on that subject, there's definitely, I have moral and ethical lines with what I will and will not put on people. And if an 18-year-old person with no other tattoos comes to me and wants a fucking face tat, sorry, no.
Yeah.
I'm not about to ruin your life.
Right, you're not
when
obligated.
18.
Like, it's your choice ultimately to choose.
Ultimately, yeah.
So I accompanied my wife at the time who was getting her tattoo, and it was a guy who opened a shop, and he was an old biker tattooer, like you were talking about, and he was trying to go storefront, but he was still very biker tattoo.
Yeah.
And as he's tattooing, you know, me being an inquisitive person, obviously, I would show, but being inquisitive, I was asking the guy, I'm like, so, what kind of stuff, you know, and everything else? And this guy was, blatant, he was so just, brunt about it. He was like, I don't tattoo fat chicks, I don't tattoo this person, I don't do this, I don't tattoo this guy's asses, I won't do any of that shit, and if they ask, I'll kick them out of my shop, and blah, blah, blah.
And hey, man, he has that right.
And I was like,
Yep.
I was just kind of like, "Alright." And he was very biker tattoo guy, don't even, I'll punch you in the face if you're a dude and ask me to tattoo your ass.
Right. And there's a lot of old school tattooers that won't even tattoo women in
And
general.
it's weird because he has
So
a
the
store.
guy-
He has a storefront.
the guy
And he
went-
advertises
Yeah.
His
tattoo
whole
parlor.
career,
Come on in.
only
But yeah, you go
tattoo-
in there and it's it's not a fucking Subway. It's not a Starbucks. It's not.
The guy I went to wouldn't tattoo women.
It's not like
and he
Customs
wouldn't
Order Direct.
tattoo hands, feet, face, or neck.
Don't blame him.
That was the one thing. He said, no matter how many tattoos you have, you could always go to court and cover them all up.
Facts. Right
Oh,
there.
no
That
shit.
was the theory. No
Job
hands,
stoppers.
feet, face, or neck. And
No
he never
hands,
tattooed
feet,
women.
face or neck.
Not because...
What?
So he tattooed 5 women that he knew. Anytime a girl would come in and goes, well, when was the last time you changed your hair color? When was the last time you changed your nails? When was the last time you changed this?
Why would he ask
In
that?
his mind, why would you put something permanent on your body when,
when you don't know what you want.
he
Well,
was
that's
old
why-
school.
Oh man,
and
that's
he
that's
was
crazy.
afraid
Alright.
of somebody coming back and saying, "Oh, you put this on, I don't want
But
it."
I
Oh,
respect that.
wow.
Okay.
All right. That's
Although I
crazy.
don't
I mean, that's
agree
cool.
with not tattooing women, I agree with the mentality that you need to take it serious in the fact that this shit is permanent. And if
Yep.
there's any sort of inkling of someone not being sure, I don't want to fucking put that on
Yep.
them because they're going to regret it. And I don't want anybody to look down at a piece of art I did on them and regret it.
Absolutely.
I would
Or
rather
come back and chase you down and be like, yeah, no,
Right.
that's
like
nothing. You,
So he had one bad experience, and that was like, you know what? It's going to be easier for me just to not do it. Like I said, there was 5 women. He would no problem.
that was interesting to
And-
think
He knew.
about the feet and the hands and everything else and the
Yeah.
whole cover up thing.
Yep.
And
Well,
that was
that's-
what is that? Is that because
Now he since has sold the
So-
shop. He's not there anymore.
But is that
Free
just
for
because
all.
like
the guy does everything now.
there's such a stigma with tattoos still. It's definitely become more mainstream and more acceptable, but those are referred to as job stoppers.
So-
Tattoos on your
because I was working with
you
this
can't
guy.
cover them.
I was working with this. I was working for this guy, one of my clients, and when you did my tattoo on my hand, right? He saw it, and he was like, "Oh, dude, you tattooed your hand? And I was like,
Badass,
yeah. I mean,
bro.
this guy's got sleeves all the way up his arm, like all the way up. He's got chest, like the whole deal. His legs, everything. And he was like, you tattooed your hand? And I'm looking at him like, looking at the hours that are on him. And I'm just going like, yeah. And my tattoo's like minuscule. It's like tiny. And I'm just like, yeah. And he was like, oh man. He's like, I talked to my wife the other night, and I was like, oh, Luke got a hand tattoo. Like, oh man,
He's jealous.
Like he's badass. Like, oh man. And I was like, what? Like what?
I
like
want
I'm
that
badass for
tattoo.
getting a hand tattoo.
But
And
you
he's
have
like,
to be at a certain point in your life and career
You
to
don't care.
be able to do that because
Yep.
And
honestly,
he is involved in like a religious community as well, and like so I guess that's kind of his like.
Unless
he
you want to
he
wear
could always wear a
gloves.
button down and cover everything.
well, and that's
and
I
nobody
mean,
knows.
look at me. I have two
But he was
tiny
like
ones.
so envious, and I'm like, are you kidding me? These stupid little lines on me, like that to you, like
It's
makes
real.
me like badass because I got
Because
you
you're
know,
exposed
I-
all the time.
So before I was a tattoo artist, I was a nurse, and a couple of the places that I worked, you're not allowed to have tattoos that are visible. So I would have to wear long sleeves, like high cut neckline, long sleeves.
No, instead you gotta bathe the lady who's got the Elvis Presley tattooed on her back.
Right.
It's all wrinkled.
Right.
Looks more like.
Oh, the best was
more
when
like Lord of the Rings character.
old people would be like, these damn kids and their tattoos, and I'm like, I know, right? They're such trash bags, like nothing but trouble.
Oh god!
Like
Underneath
roll
the
my
scrubs,
sleeves
underneath
up a
the-
little. I'm
Underneath
like,
the scrubs,
yep,
you're
let it
completely
peek out.
covered. You're like, bitch.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
So funny. Because they have no clue. I mean, to them, same thing as before.
Did you ever have a good relationship with him and be like, and she was like constantly like bad about that, and be like, just one day, just be like, by the way, bam, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
pull up your sleeve.
I
and
would,
go,
I would definitely.
what do you think about me now?
Sneak them up a little so they peek out
I'm
and
tatted.
like give them an idea of what's going on. But
Yeah.
just because I don't know, like it's in my opinion, old people like they've paid their dues to society. It's not my job to fucking change their mind. They're all gonna die off
You
eventually.
know the funny
anyway,
thing is
but-
though, I get more compliments from older people, like old people on my tattoos than you do from anybody else.
I do from
I
old
find
men.
more of
They
them
think it's
love
neat.
them than
that's
hate them.
The women.
It's gotta be because you're a woman. It's always old women
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
Old
And
women.
old
that?
men,
Oh,
I'm
that's-
sure to you,
All
right?
the old women say to me, they're like, "Oh, honey, why would you do that to your
Oh,
body?"
so it's
If
just
there's a stigma, that's a sexist stigma.
It's just
because
Dylan. It's
For-
just
no.
an excuse for them to have start a conversation with you, sexy boy.
no, because women are supposed to be these proper, pretty things. So when they see the tattoos, they think, they think bad things like, "Oh, a woman shouldn't do that."
Oh,
Right.
she
When
must
they
be a
see-
slut. She
when
must be
they-
this.
Well,
she
and
must
there's
be
that too.
Well,
Even
yeah.
still, certain dudes.
She's DTF.
Certain
She's got
dudes
tattoos.
look at a female with tattoos, and they think it's okay to touch my tattoos. Don't ever fucking touch
Which is
somebody's
so
tattoos.
fucking weird. Why
I
would
would
you
agree with
fucking
that.
touch people in
I'm gonna,
general.
and hey, okay, so
Exactly.
It's weird.
Hold
Exactly.
on.
It's
Tattooed or
fucking
not.
weird.
Hold
Yeah.
on, quick announcement here with a public announcement. Don't ever touch anybody's tattoo.
Don't
Well, just
ever.
don't touch people.
It's
Don't touch
right.
people.
Just
Fucking
no,
personal
don't
bubble,
touch
please.
people.
Dude, oh.
It's weird.
It's
and
very
just
strange.
because a
I
female
agree.
has tattoos does not mean she wants to fuck anybody that walks by her. And certain dudes have it in their head that that's like
She's badass. She's
Right.
this. She's that. Yeah,
it's the most bizarre. I don't even
it's
know
a
how those
cultural
dots
thing. I don't know where
connected.
it has to have come
Yeah, it
from
makes no sense.
somewhere.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know where it came from, where the derivative was, but like you think about it, it's like, or was it just completely made up? I don't even know.
I have no clue. I don't know where that came from, but
I think it goes back to
wrong.
like what we were talking about earlier.
I
The
think
whole-
it goes to
the whole
the
concept
stigma
of like the
where
badass.
the people that get tattoos are lesser than normal society. That's what it feels like.
And they're-
You know what
they're
I mean?
also,
So
like-
I mean, I'm
you're
not
willing-
saying I'm not.
they're
lesser
more
than
open
normal
to-
Listen,
society.
neither am I. I am no
I have my
stellar
moments,
person.
but-
No, I think the stigma is like, because like you were saying, like the history of the tattoos goes back to like, well, the history of modern people getting tattoos, not the tribal.
In
But-
the United States.
Yeah, in the United
Exactly,
States is more so like you were saying with the bikers
Yeah.
or military or whatever,
Yeah.
prison and this and that it was like to show just to kind of, it was a symbolism of like, I'm a badass mother, like I'm badass, like,
Right.
or I'm living a lifestyle and don't fuck with me.
Yeah,
And
like
so
a lot of the military.
So I guess
guys
like
just travel,
I could see how that would travel on to like if women get it, they're living like a wild lifestyle and like they're just like wild women,
Right.
which is not the case.
Not
obviously.
the case. And well, and that, I mean, that mindset is definitely changing. I mean, I tattoo lawyers, I tattoo doctors, I tattoo police officers.
I've met some of the smartest people in the world that had tattoos, and I never, and like, it's still to this day surprising. When like I'll talk to them and they'll be like in uniform or whatever, blah blah, and then when I see them in leisure clothes and they're covered head to toe, and I'm just like, oh wow, I did not expect
That's what I love.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll
You know what I mean?
That's my
in the
favorite.
winter.
It's so fun for me though.
That
it's,
is my
it's
favorite.
Really cool.
Those people, I feel like, help change the stigma because clearly you can be a successful, law-abiding, good citizen and have tattoos. It
Yeah.
does not affect you.
Do you think some of those people almost do it though because they're so like successful and they like I don't know, like there's certain people I've met who are just like very private school, like Harvard, like this, like that, and like you said, lawyers and things like that.
I feel like
you almost
it's
think they almost do it as like well obviously it's everybody's personal preference why they do it.
Right.
But I almost wonder sometimes I'm like, is it something about like they've been under so much pressure to be perfect, and then they just like want to go out and like that's them expressing themselves.
Maybe
perfectly,
that
like,
is
in a
them
way.
being perfect. It's art. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Maybe their perfect version of them is them with art.
Yeah.
I
You
feel
know,
like,
I
like you
don't-
said, it's so different for everybody, you know. But I think it's just a personal expression.
Yeah. And it's,
You know what I
it's
mean?
therapeutic
It's
for a lot of
permanent.
people.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
it's no
Let me tell you,
expression,
for me, sitting in that chair was just that was the best. It was more about getting the tattoo than what I got tattooed on me.
See, I
And a
fucking
lot of other-
hate getting tattooed.
And a lot of other people, like everybody asks, "Oh, what's the meaning of that tattoo?" It's like,
I
no
don't know.
fucking meaning. I
Thank
like the
you.
tattoo.
Okay, I tell.
Alright, so okay, let's
I-
get into that. Let's
I
say about like
tell-
You know,
Is
I
there
liked
just, like,
getting
yeah.
tattooed. Now, there's some that hurt
so
like
what
a
are
fucking
so
bitch,
what are
let
some
me
of
tell
the,
you,
what are
but
some of the like
most of them I like.
what is your experience in your line of work? I mean, like, what is some of the like? What is the craziest meaning that you had where you were like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Like, what is the? Is there anything that stick in your mind where you're like,
So
"Okay"?
I did have a girl come in one time for a set of lips on her ass. And
Kiss my ass.
so
I mean,
no, it was a specific person's lips.
Please tell me
and
it wasn't her dad.
No, thank God, Jesus Christ. Again, ethics and morals.
I don't know.
Incest.
5, 6 years ago, that might have been a thing. I don't know if you remember what happened in our area. Let's not get into that one.
So these two chicks, one was a camp, they're actually both camp counselors, and I guess they had met like a month before, and the night they met, they got drunk, and one of the girls said, "I'm gonna get your lips tattooed on my ass," and the other one was like, "The fuck you are," and she's like, "Try me."
Oh, so it was like a bet.
It was kind of like a bet thing, and
It's gotta be a ton
but
of
the
tattoos out
girl-
there just because of that.
the girl whose lips it was like, "This is fucking weird. I can't believe she's actually doing it." And the chick who was getting it, fucking walking around the shop in a thong, bigger chick, no fucks given. Full on. She was like, "Yeah, do it." Okay.
I
So
was
the
not
chick
in the waiting
met
room
her
that-
a month before and went to the shop with her?
Yes. The whole thing was weird. I
So
don't
what?
know.
Did you have to like look at her lips and
I had her
trace
kiss
it?
a piece of paper.
No, you have
And then
to,
use that for your stencil?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put on like makeup or ink or something.
She thought it was
Yeah.
fucking weird, but was like, yeah, all right, I got nothing better to do
right.
on a fucking Friday night. Let me go
Right.
down and see you get your tattoo on my lips and your ass.
Hey, man.
And she didn't stop her.
No. And it wasn't on her face or hands, so I said,
I
fuck
wonder if they're
it.
still friends to this day.
Probably not. I feel like there was some tension there. I don't
Sounds
know.
odd, yeah.
Someone sounds like the Dahmer shit in the tattoo world.
Right?
You know, like, yeah, like, okay, if you really want to tattoo my lips on her ass, I guess I'll come down with you. And it's a good story, I guess, for both of them.
Yeah.
Or at least one of them.
At least one of them.
Yeah.
She didn't
One's
come
probably
back
not
for
gonna
me
want
to
to tell
cover
the
it,
story.
so.
Well, she's going to have to explain it every time to somebody.
Well, that's the thing, too. When people ask you what the meaning of your tattoo is, you can fucking say anything you want. I make
Yeah.
up shit all the time.
Oh, it's so dumb.
And I tell people, like, you decorate your house with shit that you like. Some meaningful pictures and family, whatever, but the rest of it's just shit you think is cool. So
Yeah.
why not decorate your body the same way?
The scary, but that to me, like, I've thought that about myself. But I'm like, because I'm covered in scars, like literally covered head to toe, and I don't necessarily like them all. You know what I mean? And I'm always like, how cool! Like I enjoy the idea almost of like just covering my whole body.
Do it.
In tattoos, and then that way it's like nobody will ever see scars. You know what I mean?
Scar tissue sucks.
And like
to get tattooed.
I don't have to worry. I don't
It
have to.
sucks to tattoo,
I also
but
like
Yeah, it
in my
doesn't
job.
take
I
it
have
well.
a farmer's tan 24/7. You know what I mean? When I go to the beach and I take my shirt off, it still looks like I'm wearing my shirt in the summertime.
and you
Like,
seriously though.
So I was like, well, if I'm covered in tattoos, though, it'll look the same all the time. You know what I mean? So it's almost like for me, I've thought about it like as like, wow, that would actually be kind of interesting, like intriguing, and like in that thought, I was like, oh my god, other people must do this, is to cover yourself, to hide your self-conscious self.
Yeah, there's
like,
definitely a
to
fraction.
literally like
So
cover
many
yourself,
people.
and you just in that way you're more comfortable being naked in front of people or being like exposed in front of people because
Or
you're,
just seeing yourself in the mirror, not even for other people.
you know,
a lot of
and
people,
you're like
that's a
all the
thing for a lot
tattoos
of
cover all
people.
your imperfections, and it's like almost makes you not even freaking human at that point.
And
I mean, when you get that.
Or
covered.
now you're
it's
part of
beautiful.
Like you're a
and-
walking mural.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's art, and it's beautiful, and it helps people, and it makes them feel better about themselves or more confident. I think it's a beautiful.
It
thing
also
to do.
scares the shit. I mean, that's permanent. You know what I mean? Because it's not something you could ever wash off. If you ever wanted to
Correct.
see that part of your body as it
It
was, you
gets-
never can again.
But why would you? I mean, if
It
you're
gets
not
saying,
happy
I'm
with
just-
it
no,
in
I'm
the
just
first
saying, but
place,
it's yeah, I'm just saying it's like
If you
It's
have those
interesting.
thoughts, don't do it.
correct.
yeah, good point. Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's tattoos that I have that I got when I was younger that I no longer. I don't want to say I hate them. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. I probably would have picked something else. So at this point, I'll probably go over and do something else on top of it. But you definitely have to be sure about what you want. I'm just impulsive, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I woke up this morning and I want this, so I'm gonna get it done. But be sure if you can, or as sure as you can be. I mean, also at a certain point, you're so covered, it doesn't really matter anymore because it all
You're
kind of
just
blends
like-
together, and you don't
Well,
really.
just- They'll
And
put
it
another one on
gets
top
to
of that
the
one.
point too. After so many years, like you know, you can't remember what you look like without them. Like you don't see them.
Right.
It gets to a point you don't see them. It's
Oh, I
just,
forget.
No,
I
it's
have
It's just
certain
normal.
ones.
Like
that
you,
was weird for me too because
You,
I
you
have
look
the
in the
one
mirror,
on
you
my
don't
forearm.
see the tattoos.
When I take a shower,
It's just you.
I keep
Right.
thinking that I like missed the spot. Because out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, oh, I must have like some dirt on me. And I'm like,
Some
oh no, that's the
schmutz.
tattoo. You know, like that's so weird.
Keep rubbing up.
But now,
Oh.
like I don't see them anymore. Like you said, it took me a while, and now I don't see them anymore.
It's
now
part
now
of
they're
you.
part of me.
Right.
Yeah. And that took some time, for sure. And I actually, you know, I'm not gonna lie, there was doubt in that time period of, shit, did I make the right decision? Do I want that on me? And then I don't know, like I feel like that's natural, right? For anybody to feel that way about something new that's on them permanently.
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean,
eventually you kind of grow into it. I
It
mean,
depends on the person.
like
and
everybody
think it
has
depends
a- yeah.
on why you got it.
and it
Right.
depends on the tattoo. I mean, there's been tattoos that I have that the second I got home, I went, shit, I should have done this instead. But they're there, and it's fine.
that's the other
because-
thing now is that like looking forward into my endeavors into the tattoo world is I'm like, well, there's only so much space in my body,
Oh, there's plenty.
and
Trust
and
me,
one of the
I've
things
got
that I
a
think
lot of
about.
hours in the chair, and
One of
I got room for a
But one
lot
of the
more
things
hours.
one of the things I think about too is like, and people get this all the time, like tattoos on their back and stuff like that, and I'm like, what's the fucking point? Because you can't enjoy your own
A lot
tattoo. You know
that
what I mean?
is-
Like when I tattoo myself, it's so I can see it and I can look at it and I enjoy it. You know.
Listen, my first
So
one
to get
I
something
got
on your
my
back
shoulder.
is like you can never see it again unless you look in the mirror and like who does
a
that?
lot
you
of
know?
people just like knowing it's there. So there's definitely a lot of people that I've tattooed that want everything on the front. Personally, I feel like off balance.
Yeah.
So I need.
And I agree with
like,
you too.
can't.
That's
I
part
from
of the
behind
addiction.
your
do
other
one arm and then
person.
not do the other.
Right.
Like
So like I have more on my right arm, so I have more on my left leg. I have
It'd be
stuff on the
weird
back
also,
of my
like, if you're out in public and you're just everything's on the front.
Right, it's
and
like
then
being
it's like
tan
nothing
on
else.
one side and white on the other, like you forgot to flip
But some of
over.
these tattoos cost thousands of dollars, and to spend thousands of dollars to put an image on your back you never get to see.
A lot of
That's
people.
crazy.
To me, I just like knowing they're there.
Yeah,
I know
guess.
they're there.
I mean,
I don't
right.
need to see it all the time. I know they're there, and it makes me happy.
For me,
Okay,
it's gonna
yeah.
be because that's the only spot that I have left that doesn't involve me taking my pants off. Like literally, that's gonna be.
I
I got one when my first one I got on my shoulder because I knew nothing. I was 17.
So you
Went
must
to
look
some
really
shitty
funny
shop in
naked. You
Waterbury,
must look funny
and
naked.
oh yeah, but
It's just
you
a
know,
giant mural with
I have-
with David
Yeah.
in the middle.
So now it's getting to the point. All the fun spots are done. Your arms are done. Your legs are done. I got my
Yes.
chest, which
Have you
wasn't
ever
fun. That
thought about
sucked.
getting your cock tattooed?
No.
Or that region
No.
to kind of blend
So,
it in.
To
Up
blend
until
it,
now, I've
It's
never
gonna
done
have
it.
to
blend it
just
out.
imagine it. It's gotta be.
Just
I'm not
feather
gonna.
it
I'm not gonna
out.
lie.
You
but like,
gotta stretch that a lot. So
It's
if
got-
you
which
know
one-
how a tattoo's done, it's not gonna be easy to hold that up the whole time you're getting a tattoo.
okay, so basically,
And something that stretches that
a
much.
slinky. Get a slinky tattoo.
You
on
need
there.
at least
No.
4 people.
But the problem is to stretch it to get the ink, and you can't do that.
You
No.
can.
You
ever
can,
seen
yeah, but how long is
should
that gonna
you?
last?
You ever
But
see those
should
snakes
you?
that come out of the
No.
can that shoot out of the can?
Yeah, absolutely. It's terrible. For why?
But so I've always wondered, and I don't know, like for the rest of the listeners out there, if you feel the same way. But this is the show about asking questions, so I gotta ask the
Ask,
question.
yeah, man.
When you look at a mirror, is it weird to have just this blank spot?
So, okay, I have a client currently that he's covered. So, full chest, we're working on his stomach now, almost full stomach. But around his nipples, there's no ink. And he doesn't want his belly button done. And I told him, I'm like, by the end of your stomach, I'm sorry, but you have to fill that in because you're going to have a fucking smiley
You're gonna get a
face.
smiley face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit weird.
But does he want that?
He doesn't have a choice. I'm going to do it anyway. I told him.
Jesus,
Like, I
that's
can't.
brutal.
He obviously
He
has
trusts
a
you.
choice, but
Yeah. No, he trusts.
it is sometimes a little weird to leave empty spots, minus a cock. I feel like that's an acceptable
Empty
Yeah.
spot.
spot to leave empty. Yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna
I know.
put
I'm
on?
just.
And
I,
good luck
the
finding
question.
an
No,
artist
the question
that would
was
ever
not.
do that.
the
That's
question-
the other thing. I've never. First
The
of all, I've never
question
known a
was-
female artist until I met
Right.
you
Who would?
tonight.
Who would?
Second
work on
of
a-
all-
who would work on a cock? Somebody would.
Exactly. Like,
But I'm
no,
just-
thank
No.
you.
That wasn't the question though. The question was, is it weird when you look in a mirror and you're all tatted out and then there's just that one spot missing? Or is that it's tattoo in itself? You're
Yeah.
like,
It's like a frame
right. It's,
that
it's
like
all
hones
just-
your eye in, right?
Right?
Like, here's the goods.
So it's not weird.
For me, it's at the point where I don't see them. Like I was saying
You don't
before,
see
like
them.
I just like the way I look is just me.
Mhm.
You know, yes, I want more, but like I was fortunate when I was doing it. Like I was trading. Like, dude, I didn't pay for 95% of my tattoos. I was working on all their shops, so I was barbering. And then a friend of mine was learning, so I was. You know,
Is
the
it the
first
type of
5
thing-
or 6? I was his guinea pig. I was paying the setup.
Is
The
it
guy
the
to
thing
the
where
point,
you
he's
get
like,
what you pay for though?
dude, you've let me fucking tattoo you so much. He's like, I can't even charge you anymore.
Is it the type of thing where you get what you pay for?
Absolutely. He wouldn't tattoo my arms. He would only tattue my legs because that was learning.
Because
Like,
you
listen,
fuck,
I wear
you could
pants
fuck
all the
up
time.
and
Yeah.
Right.
I completely knew what I was getting into.
Right.
You know, some
And
of the
that's
lines
key.
are big. You got some blowouts. You got some, big dots where he started and stopped and shit. You know exactly what they are. You know, and I knew what I was getting
It's
into.
kind of cool because you're actually
Yep.
you're almost wearing.
he
that.
worked
You're
his
almost
way
like
up.
wearing a symbolism of his career.
And
Learning, like-
so the girl
But it
that
was
was
fu-
here
it's hard to
earlier
find.
has one of my first tattoos on her. And I took a picture of it because I looked at it and I was like, that looks like fucking trash. Wow. And part of me wants to fix it, but the other part of me is like, that's where I came from. You know, that's a
That's
piece of
it.
my history.
You gotta appreciate
you know?
that too, because
And
it's hard to find people like, hey,
God,
I've
if
only
you
done one tattoo in
if
my
you were to
life.
go
Can I
back
put
and
this
try and
permanent
fix-
mark on your body?
If
Yes.
you're trying
Like
to go
that's
back
gotta be
and
the
fix
hardest part
all
of
those-
starting out.
so
Finding people who were like, yeah, you never done it before, sure.
Oh, let's get into that.
Go ahead.
So, like, what is that like? Because it's like literally like nobody trusts you. You're just like, hey, by the way,
That's
everybody,
a tough.
I'm
way
getting
to
into
break in.
tattooing, and it's like you gotta find people who are like, all right, yeah, go ahead and just like draw me permanently, and you might suck.
I was fairly lucky because I've done art my whole life, and
So you were a really good artist before this?
I wouldn't say really good, but
You were a good artist before. So you did art before.
I
this.
did art
You were
before,
into art.
and so people had seen my art. I had done commission work and
What
stuff.
kind of art did you do? Just out of curiosity.
Mostly realism, portraits.
Okay,
but
so like.
a little everything.
Well, in realism, I mean, you're either good or you're not.
True, but so when I first started, I really struggled with line work because in realism and portraits, you're not doing straight lines. Like, there's no
Mostly
straight lines
shading.
in people's faces. It's mostly shading. So shading I picked up right away, but line work I fucking sucked. My
But
line
shading
work
is
was
important. Yeah,
shit.
shading is important. But yeah, line work.
Not only that, like to be an
So-
artist and to tattoo, I feel
Two totally
completely-
different things.
like I was. Tattooing's a trade. Like you have
Yes.
to learn how to run.
No shit.
The
That's why
machine,
that's why
you
we're
have
here
to-
today on the
But what
Jobs
I'm
on
saying,
Steve.
like everybody, like people think, oh, I can draw, I can do tattoos.
Correct.
Like it's not the same,
Okay,
right?
so let
it's
yeah,
not
that's
the
it's
same.
it's an art, an eye for art's one thing. To
So
tattoo
let's-
somebody's different.
let's get into that. So basically, if somebody wants to be a tattoo artist, what is the best way for them to start being a tattoo? What's the first thing they can do?
Draw.
So like if somebody's listening right now and they're like, I always wanted to be a tattooist. I like getting tattoos. I like the concept. I like drawing, you know, and everything else. I like drawing tattoos, but I want to actually put it to, basically, I want to make that my career. You know, because like for a lot of artists, they're like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but art is a really hard fucking world to get into.
Correct.
And so you could
It's
draw.
very
You can.
subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective. It's not even that. It's like a secret society. Let's face it. It is exactly what it is. If it's who you know. Ultimately, it doesn't matter how good you are. I've seen some of the best artists in the world literally just get turned down constantly
And
everywhere
some
they
of the
go.
most successful
And
ones
they
are shit.
and they literally
They
exactly.
just slap paint on a canvas and
Exactly.
call it abstract. Which
Exactly,
To
and
me,
so
I
it's
think
not
is
like
bullshit.
it's not a competition of who's the best.
Correct.
You know what I mean? It's not like other jobs and other things you do. You know, being an artist is literally who you know, and let's
And what's
face it,
popular at the
and
time.
how you
Right.
can sell yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's being a fucking
it's a
used car
salesman.
salesman.
It's a fucking salesman.
Yeah, if you
And
can
art-
convince somebody
it's a salesman
that a
and
banana
it's a
is
popularity contest.
Right.
And that's how you sell art, and that's the difference between a good artist and a because I
Absolutely.
literally have met some of the most amazing artists in my life, and like that I've actually like tried to go out and like become art, like go into the world. Even went to school for it, like spent the money, you know, went to college for it, like went into debt for it to go to these art schools, thinking that they would get linked into the community and all that, and do all these amazing things, and walk away from that with nothing but frustration.
And
Because they
student loan
never
debt.
got a studio, they never got this, nobody
Right.
would buy their shit, they weren't linked, they could never get linked in, they didn't fit in, they weren't, you know, in the script and stuff like that. So a lot of these people, I mean, I can imagine for them, and I think about this myself, is like, okay, so I'm a really good artist, right? I have a good eye, I have a good sense of like, I could take the images of my brain and convey them to my hands and do things and make them come to life. So how do I make money doing that? You know what I mean? And one of the things that is going to come up is obviously tattoo, because they're trying to figure out how to make money doing what they love and to continue drawing, continue painting and stuff like that. And how do you know, you can't open a storefront and open your own gallery. I mean, you can. It's may or may not
right,
work, but
right.
like, and like a lot of people go into graphic design or do other things, and like they'll branch
Yeah, I
out
guess
and they'll,
success
they'll-
is subjective,
they'll
too.
try and they'll
You
try
know
and
what I
find
mean?
other
It's-
routes that they can go but ultimately, like for a great artist, you know, and there's lots of them out there, so it's also a very saturated market. It's like, well, a lot of them are gonna just be like, well, how can I take this skill and this thing I love to do and turn it into an actual, you know, job where I can make money? And being a tattoo artist is going to be one of those things that pops up. They're going to go, well, I'm a good artist. I can become a tattoo artist and open my own parlor and do all this stuff. And I can start drawing on people. So tell me, like, if somebody wanted to do that and they were doing that, what is the best route in order to do that? Like, where do you start? How do you even get into it?
Definitely by drawing and putting together a portfolio. You don't try and learn at home. Nobody should ever try and learn at home.
In curiosity, like drawing with what? Like pencil? Is there any better?
A lot of stencil work because not everybody wants a portrait or something you freehand drew.
Is there any better like medium that you should use to create the portfolio?
I would
like
say no.
Or colored pencils or charcoal or what? I mean, like is there any particular art medium that would help you in the tattoo world or create a portfolio?
I don't think necessarily to create a portfolio.
Because you're not going to create a tattoo portfolio with watercolor.
Correct. Well, actually, you can.
Okay.
So a lot of flash designs are still and were previously done in watercolor.
What's a flash design?
A flash design is like a pre-drawn design where old school walk-in shops where you go and they have a bunch of art on the wall and you pick one and you say I want this one.
Oh,
and
like
they tattoo that
Tropical
on you.
Paradise or
Right.
a dragon.
Sailor Jerry, that type of thing.
Okay.
So those were mostly all drawn with watercolor, and a lot of them still are. So watercolor is great to know, but I don't think it's necessary for creating a portfolio. It's more about being able to show that you can refine your artwork to a point where it could potentially be, because not all art can be transitioned into a tattooable image. Certain things don't work for tattooing. So, but I think having a good idea of what can and being able to refine your artwork will definitely give you a leg up in that. And then basically people go around to different shops showing their portfolio and saying, can I apprentice under you? And you're going to get a lot of fucking no's.
Would you ever recommend anybody to go get their own kind and practice on their friend?
Absolutely not. There's so many different variables to it.
Look, I mean, this is important, you know what I mean? Like,
forget about
so many people think
there's a lot of people don't understand, and they think like, oh, I'll just go buy that $40 gun on Amazon, and then I'll just start doing it, and I'll just get my friends, and I'll just get better.
There's way worse things you can do than just draw something that looks shitty on somebody. I'm sure you're gonna tell us.
Well, I mean,
it's
the risk of infection
exactly.
for one, the risk of transmitting disease for two. If you go too deep, you're going to scar that person. You're going to blow out the
you guys are talking about blowouts, and blowouts, tell the listeners what a blowout is.
A blowout is when you go too hard or you have your machine set at too high of a voltage and it's too powerful. And instead of the ink going into the right layer of skin, it goes under that and just spreads and turns into a blob.
It's almost, the machine becomes a scalpel at that point.
And there's an adjustment for how much needle hangs out, too. You hang your needle way out.
Correct.
Because it's literally, your needle is literally pounding the skin, right? And so, like, it's pounding the skin in a line. So, like, and you're stretching the skin while you're working on it. So I mean, could you literally like actually cut somebody open or like tear?
If you're using a single needle, because when I tattooed your hand, the needle that I use, even though it looks really really tiny, it's actually, I can't remember what size I used, but 3 or 5 needles.
7. They come in all different
sizes.
Correct,
and they're different. They're put in different shapes for different uses. So the risk of tearing the skin with 5 needles really isn't there.
Okay.
But if you're using a single needle and your voltage is too high and it's a sensitive area and you're stretching too hard, you absolutely can cut the skin. And there's so many different things like that you have to know to be able to tattoo safely. That
I mean, the sterilizing is also a huge part of it.
So at this point,
it is the biggest.
At this point, I mean, I use disposable needles and my machine is not disposable, obviously.
Yeah.
We, like my hardware, my power supply, my foot pedal, all my cords are not disposable, but they are sanitized.
You're running as sanitized as an operating room.
You have to. You have to.
You're dealing with bodily fluids.
Correct. And we're OSHA certified, and so we know about bloodborne pathogens and how to prevent transmission and all that stuff.
I think the whole world at this point, if you don't, then you're probably not listening to the show. But
right.
Everybody knows about what needles can transfer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well,
So.
Certain industries.
Yeah. And literally needles are that's your tool. I mean,
Yep.
you're
And you're gonna contact blood. Like you're breaking the skin. There is blood. So super important.
it's like a weird. It's like
So
kind of
there's
a
the
weird
other
thing.
thing. Everybody thinks, oh, it'll be better when I'm drunk. You bleed more when
No,
you're drunk.
And you know what? So at this point, because
It's a
we are
thing.
licensed, you're not supposed to tattoo anybody under the influence, and you can actually lose your license if it becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And you're right, you bleed a shit ton more. Even the night before,
Everybody
I can
knows
always
alcohol
Yep.
things your blood.
Not everybody
And if you
knows
don't,
that.
now you
No,
know.
Yeah.
Job's not
people
Steve.
don't. Yeah. Most
Blood,
people didn't
Keeping
know
you
that.
in the know.
aspirin, ibuprofen,
Yep. Oh yeah.
all
those.
that shit will thin your blood and make you bleed more. Which
Oh God, do you ever? I mean, and I don't want to get off topic here, but do you ever have people who take like preempt a tattoo and they're like
Oh, that's
they have
been a
that
thing forever,
they have
yeah.
that thing where they're like, oh, I know it's gonna hurt, so I'll just pop a few Advil beforehand.
Yes.
And you're like, what the?
usually,
Don't do that.
so I mean, usually it's not enough to make them bleed to the point where
I imagine
it's
you also
untattooable.
Yeah, you probably
know,
covered all
you
that
can
in your
deal with
consultation
it.
too before they come in.
I don't tell people not to take Advil.
Yeah.
Just because
You tell them to have a full stomach and stuff like that. I mean, right? I mean, is that a thing, or do you just kind of do you give them like tips? Or
I don't really give I'm lying. I don't. I sometimes do. Depends on the situation. I will tell people to try not to drink the night before. Just especially if they are a heavy drinker in general, because that is the thing I find that thins the blood the most. And like if I'm tattooing a hand and it's like a mechanic or somebody that works with their hands a lot, I tell them to moisturize for a few weeks beforehand, just because if the skin is too thick, it's hard to get the ink to go in, the ink's gonna fall out, it's gonna heal like shit. So for certain things there is prep work, but I don't really give a shit if people take Advil. Other artists may feel different. I'm not that much of a control freak with it, just because it doesn't make that much of a difference tattooing.
So we got off topic. So what is your advice for somebody again who's gonna? What's the best way that somebody could get into it?
Oh.
And you were saying, you had mentioned just go to a tattoo shop and just give
Go
your
down,
portfolio.
take a fucking risk, man. Go down to shops, bring your portfolio, put yourself out there.
Do you find shops are saturated though?
Very much so. The industry is.
Yeah.
But you asked, so I'm
Can
answering.
you, I know, but can you open your own shop? Can you? Is there any?
If you don't know how to tattoo, you're not gonna fucking
So
keep
you-
it afloat.
That's the only
Depends.
way.
There's still
the-
towns
so
that'll
the-
restrict the amount of tattoo shops
So
that
the
are
only
allowed
way-
in these towns.
True.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
some
absolutely.
some towns you can't put one at all.
Yeah,
Really?
they won't
And
let
it
any
has
new shops
to be,
open.
Yeah.
I know there was a shop actually that opened in Washington there.
Yes.
And he had a hard time, I thought, getting
That's
in
why
there.
so many popped up in
And
New
everybody
Milford.
was
You couldn't
freaking
open
out,
one in
and it's
Danbury
like-
forever.
Because
Right.
they associate
And Brookfield,
tattooing
until
with
recently.
Yeah.
bad people again,
Correct.
and it's like a stigma.
With loud partying, which is so
Right.
ridiculous.
And it's not even it's like the complete opposite. It's
Like
yeah.
literally at this point, I mean, maybe it's just my age group, but
Yeah.
a lot of the fucking artists that I know, we're all parents. Like, we go home and like, cook dinner and do homework with our kids.
And
you
for the
know?
listeners too, I mean, it is amazing for me to sit down with this woman and talk to her right now. I have chased her down for like a month to try and get her to come on this show and
Sorry.
talk to us because she is just literally so dedicated to her life in general. I mean, it's you're a busy person, you're a normal person, you're just like the rest of us, and it's like this is just a job. I mean, it's something you do every day, and
Right.
it takes a lot of time. And then after that.
I still have a whole
By the way,
other
well,
life
thank you
at
so
home.
much for coming in.
I'm excited to be here.
I finally got you. It's like, woo!
So another thing, I want to get your input on it because being a tattoo artist, you put a lot of faith in the person going home and taking care of this tattoo.
Yes.
I know from experience, not taking care of your tattoo after you get it, you can have the best job done.
Yes.
You don't take care of it, it looks like shit, and everybody wants to blame the artist for that.
Oh, for the scab.
How
and,
hard
Fucking
is that?
drives me
to deal
insane.
with.
when people don't listen. So I give them detailed instructions.
And it's easier now than when I was getting. They used to wrap you in saran wrap and
I still wrap people in saran wrap.
A&D 3 days and then lotion for 2 weeks, and now you got Tegaderm and all this other
No,
stuff.
No. I don't use any of that shit.
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm
though, if
old
they-
school with that.
Paper towels, saran wrap, tape it up, wash it in a
A&D
few hours, A&D 3 days.
saran wrap, wash it in a few hours.
What
Little bit. Everybody wants to got that A&D on so you don't
What
get
is-
any air
okay,
to
guys,
it.
guys.
Yes.
What the hell is AD?
A&D is
it's,
ointment.
It's like diaper rash ointment. It's just regular ointment.
Oh,
it's
like
like old
petroleum,
school.
like
Right.
KY, like-
And that's the thing. You just want petroleum based. You don't need
Yeah.
any of this fancy fucking tattoo goo with all the fragrance and
Oh,
dyes
there's-
and
there's
bullshit.
Don't get
Market.
lotion with fragrance. It's the
No.
worst shit you can do.
You want bland shit.
Yep.
So I have people use Aquaphor or A&D
Aquaphor was the other one. Yeah.
and Lubriderm.
What about someone that I know that in any market, in any industry, there's always new products coming out constantly. Like people trying to solve problems, like for basically people who just can't handle it. And they wanted to they make like Novocaine sprays and things like that. Is that a thing? I mean, like
So-
they're trying to like take the pain out of getting a tattoo.
Correct. And I
And I don't really agree with that because part of getting a tattoo is the pain.
Get
Would
the
you
pain.
agree with that?
Get the pain.
I
Make it.
think you have to kind of pay your dues with it a little bit. If it's your first tattoo and you're putting numbing cream on, you're a fucking bitch. I'm sorry.
Do you?
I
Would
feel
you?
like
Suck
you
it
should
up.
say that about people getting into the industry. Go sit in a chair.
Oh,
You
well,
want to get
that's-
into the
so-
industry? That's one thing that was never mentioned.
And that's something
Put
I
your
wanted
time
to
in the
add
chair.
to that.
Watch the people. Watch how
Yes.
they set up. Watch what
Yes.
they do. Watch their cleanliness habits. Pay attention. Don't just get one tattoo and think you're going to go do it.
Correct. And it's I can't tell you how many clients I've had say to me, "Oh, this looks easy. I could do this." I'm like, "You can? Really? Really? Good luck with that."
Take everything
It's
apart, hand it to them. Go
not-
ahead, set it up.
It is not
Still, how
fucking-
many times you had somebody walk up to the machine and say, "This looks easy. I could do
Oh
this."
yeah,
All the time.
absolutely.
It all looks easy.
If you're good at what if you're good at what you do, you make it look easy.
Correct.
But
And-
people don't see the hours and years you spent getting that good.
They have no clue. And
Yep.
they don't have a clue that, I mean, my apprenticeship was like a year and a half long. That's a year and a half that I worked at that shop for free.
No, come on.
While working.
Setting up,
Hold on.
sweeping, doing everything
I
for
was
the other
the
guys.
shop bitch. I
Wait.
had to clean the
free?
shop.
All right, so this is something that the listeners need to hear. I thought that was only a thing in the movie industry.
No.
There you go. It's like an internship.
So you are a
Okay.
shop bitch.
By the way, all right, here's the thing. This show, this podcast, is gonna work to put a fucking end to this shit. All these internships with people working for free, fuck that. By the way, I hate it.
Certain
It's stupid,
industries,
it's
though,
ridiculous.
how do you
I
get
mean,
paid? You get paid when
Doesn't
It's a
matter.
trade-off.
Pay him something. Pay him something. Give
It's
him
a
something.
trade-off, though. If
It's
you're,
not. You can't survive.
Listen,
You can't.
listen.
I did it.
You
with
want to
2
go to
kids.
college and drop 40 grand
That's fine. I understand.
for
But it's-
nothing? This is your college. That's your training.
I
and-
know, but it's just not realistic in the world we live in.
But
anymore.
Luke,
If you want
knowledge.
it bad enough.
The knowledge that I gained from my apprenticeship is what gave me the ability to become a tattoo artist.
I understand-
Otherwise, I
understand
could
that.
not have.
You should at least get the bare minimum
However, well,
or
it's-
something.
Some
anything.
apprenticeships, which I
Because you still
I
have
think
to.
this
You
is
still
bullshit.
have to go.
Some apprenticeships you have to pay for. People will pay for an apprenticeship
That's insane.
because it's a trade-off. But
I
then you're
understand.
not the shop bitch.
I understand.
I worked a 40-hour-a-week nursing job. I bartended 3 nights a week and did my apprenticeship for a year and a half with 2 kids. It's possible. It depends on how bad you want what
But
you
I
want.
just,
you
I
didn't
just
get
wish it
paid,
didn't have to be.
But
so.
you didn't have to pay
But
to
I didn't
learn
have
that.
to pay.
So you can go to
So,
college
okay,
and pay
I-
to learn,
I see what you're saying.
or you're working for,
Yes.
quote unquote free, but you're getting an education that you're not paying for.
And that education is priceless.
All right. So instead of you're saying
That's
instead of
the
going
trade-off.
into
Right.
instead of going to classes at night,
Yep.
you're going into
That
an
you're paying
apprentice
for. Yep.
at a
So-
shop. You're not paying. You don't owe the shop $1 million or 30,000, whatever.
That
how
they're
much money
willing
it's
to
at,
teach you.
and they're teaching you. So it's basically almost like free school.
Correct. But in return, I'm cleaning that school every night.
You're cleaning
At-
school. You're also holding,
Doesn't matter
You're
how
also
much-
holding however many other jobs you need to do, and you have to find
Yep.
the time to do that.
And you have to fucking find the time to do it. And you have to find the time to draw. And even still, I mean, I work all day at the shop. I have to go home and draw for my appointment the next day. So my job doesn't end at the shop. That's people think, oh, you can work 6 hours and you make X amount per day, but they don't account for the 3, 4, 5 hours I'm drawing at home preparing for that tattoo, because everything I do is custom. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot
But
more
I can see
than
the trade-off. I mean, it does, like the way you put it. You know, it's what are you gonna do?
Pay for an education, or you sacrifice your time for an
Are
education.
you gonna go
Right.
get paid an education and go learn Algebra 1 again?
Well,
And it weeds
Pay
out
for
people.
it?
It weeds out people that don't want it that bad. If you want it bad enough, you'll fucking do it.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
It weeds out people that don't want it that bad.
Yeah.
you're
And
committed. You better be committed.
You better be fucking committed, because even now, like, shit's not easy. You have to deal with asshole fucking clients. You have to show up every day. You have to get your head in that place. Like, it's to force creativity is not always the easiest thing. So you have to love what you do, because that shit is permanent, like we said. So you can't go in there saying fuck it and do a half-ass tattoo on
Right.
somebody.
I'm hungover. I went to, Sarah's
And the people
bachelor
that
party
do
last night,
that or
and I'm
have
all
done
banged
that
up, and now I gotta
don't
go
last.
in. Like,
Correct.
You
because
have no longevity in the industry.
ultimately, at the end of the day, it boils down to your reputation and the quality of the work you're putting out, because
I guess
it's
also
a
the
visual
dedication.
thing.
I mean, that you want to, the dedication and the time and effort you want to put into how serious you are.
Yep. And actually, that's something I love about it, because I'm a hustler. I'll fucking work for something that I want. And it is directly correlated. How much I make and how far I get in my career is directly correlated to how much work I do. So if I want to work, I can work. I'm not committed to
perfect-
40 hours a week or
That's
whatever
the
for a
difference
9 to
between
5
you
job.
doing custom work. You've worked your way up to doing custom work to somebody who just does flash work.
In the perfect world, I wish that was the case for everybody. I
Yeah.
wish that was
Right.
the case for all jobs across the board.
She's worked her way up to that, because there's so many tattoo artists that go in and do $300 or $450 off the wall flash tattoos a day, and that's all they'll ever get to do.
But you
Maybe
know what?
one big piece.
There's a
but
market
you-
for that, and it makes
there
them
is.
happy.
But it's also
That's
The
it.
more
Like
power
you
to
said,
them.
absolutely. If that's what
I
they
don't
want
want
to do.
that.
But like
so
you
I
said, it's
want,
also
You want to
saturated.
advance yourself.
Correct.
You've done that. You've built that through your reputation to get that custom work, to get that
Right.
clientele. Like, that's not easy to do. That's
Is
that's
there-
a whole other level of
Have you seen
dedication.
like in the shop you're in? Have you seen like a turnaround rate? Have you seen artists come and go?
So
Have
in
you
yes.
seen people come in and they just couldn't hack it, and then they what is the success rate of a tattoo
I haven't-
artist? And,
so my shop
in your
is-
experience.
pretty stable. We've definitely had people go, but it's been already established artists. So, but my shop's kind of like a unique situation, I feel like, compared to most shops, just because.
Let's
it's
talk about
been
the
there for
shop
so long.
mentality. So you don't own your own shop, right?
Correct.
You work for a different shop.
Yes.
How does that work? Is it like, I mean, so you like buy a space? What, like, do you pay rent? Like, how does it work? Or do you work on commission? Like, tell us a
So-
little bit about that.
I'm commission, I guess. I'm percentage based. So everything that I make, I take a percentage home and a percentage goes to the shop, which covers.
Are you comfortable with telling us the percentage or?
So I'm 60/40.
It's
A
not
lot
bad.
of shops are
50-50.
a lot of shops are 50-50. A lot of shops now are 70-30. But there's different variables. Sometimes you get a higher percentage, but you have to buy more of.
What does that shop
whatever.
provide you in their percentage?
So
and
my
how much,
shop.
and how much of it comes out of your pocket? Like,
So my 40% covers my percentage to keep the lights on and the overhead with that shit. And disposables. So paper towels, bottle bags, machine bags, cord covers, anything disposable besides needles. So I buy my own needles and my own ink and my own equipment. But everything else is shop. Some shops are rent based, where you pay a rent and you get to use that space and you buy 100% of your own shit.
are you in the rent base? How does the clientele base go? Like with, do you get to select your own clientele, or does the shop like have people call in? Do they call in the shop and then
because I know you have your own clientele.
Yes.
Do you have to do a certain amount of like house clientele?
Like walk-ins?
Like
So,
like
again, my shop's kind of unique with this because we don't get a lot of walk-ins. We're an all custom
or just when
shop.
somebody calls because the business name is out there, they're the ones advertising for for all of you guys, right? So do you like? Is it? I'm trying to explain.
I think I know
So
what
somebody
you're trying
calls
to
and
say.
says,
If
"Oh, I
somebody
want to
calls
go
and
to
says, I wanna go-
this tattoo
how
shop."
does the
Whoever
shop?
answers the phone, how do they split it up amongst everybody
Yeah,
in the chat?
exactly.
We just don't
Thank
answer
you,
the
Dylan.
phone.
So that's it. So you
Well,
are
no.
all responsible.
You all fight over it
for
and do
bringing your
like
own
you
No.
draw
clientele.
straws,
So-
and you're like, I got this one. And like, oh man, like I don't want this person.
My
like,
shop's
oh.
pretty cool with shit because most of us are booked for months.
Is there?
So
but is
we
there
don't
also
do-
whatever? Does it depend on what the person wants? So
So,
like if
yeah.
they want a certain thing, they're like, oh, I got a guy who does travel.
Yes.
I got a guy who does this. I have a person who does realism. I have a person who does
Yes.
dating. And like, you want this? Okay, you want this particular person, and they will like route the cold call. You know what I mean? To the to the specific artist.
Whoever artist
Yeah.
specializes
Yes.
in
So
that.
we all kind of have our niche, which works really well for my shop because exactly that situation. Like if somebody wants a certain style, there's this dude that tends to do that style. None of us are really obligated to do anything we don't want to do. As long as we're bringing in enough to, pay our dues and keep the shop running, we don't have to do anything that we don't want to do. Walk-in shops and a lot of street shops, it is like that. There's like a rotation of whoever, whatever client comes in, it's your turn, you're up, you're doing this tattoo, whether you want to do it or not. So it really depends on the shop, and it really depends on the mentality of the people working there. I'm pretty lucky because we kind of have the grace to do whatever we want to do within reason.
Yeah.
We have our shop hours, but I can go in and work on a Sunday if I want to work on a Sunday, which I do way fucking too much. I gotta stop doing that. But we kind of all do our own thing and make our own schedules, and it just seems to work for us.
So I'm gonna put out a PSA right now. And the PSA is anybody out there who is gonna go into a shop, right, blindly, and call it and meet an artist and get a tattoo done, tip.
Thank you!
Tip well, and tip, and tip, and tip, and tip, and tip, and tip,
Yes!
and tip, and tip.
Thank you.
And
Yep.
tip, because
your artist is not getting what you paid
walk
them.
in there with a wad of fucking cash
Right.
and put it in that artist's pocket before they even begin.
And let me tell you about my client the other day.
If
who
it
I-
costs you $100, walk in with another $100, put it in their pocket.
Thank
Always.
you.
That's always,
Always.
because if you want more and you want to create a relationship, then go in there like a fucking mafia king and put $100 about
Not only that, I mean,
and
until
say
you're
we're gonna build
you're not getting paid what you should be getting paid.
And even
People
once
don't
you're
understand
established,
that.
you're not taking home 100%
No,
of what
not
you're
even
getting
close.
paid.
Yep. Because
And-
even if you keep 60% of that, you're still paying for your ink.
And
So
some
everybody
people-
tip.
Some people seem to think that it's a hobby, and they don't
Or
understand
they're like, oh,
that
she's getting paid by the shop's giving her a fair share.
But I don't
whatever,
get
blah, blah, blah,
paid
and like,
for 40 hours a week hourly. I charge for the amount of time that I'm tattooing. So if my client doesn't show up that day, that's a full day I'm out of pay unless I can get somebody else to come in and fill that spot.
not only that, I mean, you're going home. I mean, do you draw? Will you draw at home?
I personally draw at home because I think it's rude as fuck to have the client come in and I have nothing to show them. I think it's a waste of their
So
time.
you do a lot of research at home, and so you're
I
working,
do it all at home.
You're working at
Yeah.
home.
Some artists
When you're not
don't
in the
feel
shop.
that way and they'll wait until their client gets there and draw at the shop. I find that rude.
Do you ever stress about
Fuck
that?
yeah, are you kidding?
Because you're like, I hope they like it, and like shit
All
like
the
that.
time.
and
I'm
like,
my
oh
own
my
worst
God.
enemy with that because I'm constantly critiquing my
Oh,
own work.
like I hope
And
because
it's
a lot
tough
of people
'cause
come
it's
in
so
and
subjective.
say,
You
like,
know,
I
you
want,
can critique
Right.
it, and then somebody's gonna love it, or you think it's the best, and they're gonna hate
And they
it.
fucking hate it.
Yep.
or what they want doesn't work on the spot they want it.
For that, I like my clients to come in for an in-person consult before their appointment so we can kind of talk about Because I can sit there and read an email saying what you want all day long, and I still will have
it's
zero
not the same.
fucking
Yeah.
clue what you're talking
you,
about.
You got,
I need
it's
to
gotta
like
be in person.
talk in person. I need to see the spot.
Look
I
at
need
the
you to show
body,
me
look at everything.
examples, right? And
Plus,
that way
you
I
wanna
can kind
it
of
as
get.
big as you can, so you can get the detail. People want all this detail in this tiny little
Well, I tell them
tattoo.
no.
You can't do that.
You
can't
People
do
don't.
that.
It's gonna be a blob in
And
like a year.
You know what
Right.
pisses me off too is all these fucking Pinterest tattoos
Terrible. Oh,
where
my
there's a portrait of a fucking lion on someone's pinky finger.
Yeah, no way.
And I'm like, you know what? That's great.
That was taken when it was fresh.
The second it was fucking
done.
finished.
And it's just
Look
gonna
at
be
that tattoo in 2 months.
It's gonna be a
even.
fuzzy kitten from that was in a hoarding situation.
So
It's
the
gonna
other
be a
thing
piece
too-
of lint.
Yeah.
It is gonna be a mummified cat under a hoarder's couch. Like there's no
There's
future
no way.
for that.
Right.
And it pisses me off because people see this shit on Pinterest, and I blame the fucking artists that are posting these shitty fucking
They're just
pictures
trying to
because-
drum up business.
Of
That's what I'm
course,
assuming.
but
it.
that's fucked up because then the rest of us have to sit there and be the assholes that explain to people, no, you can't do
God,
that.
now we're getting into
No,
it.
you can't put 75 fucking
Yeah.
names on your wrist and a tiny ass infinity symbol. People need to stop getting infinity symbols too because it's been played out. We all get
no,
it.
but
no, it's gotta go.
It's infinity. It's for infinity.
It's for
The infinity
none.
symbol will be for infinity.
Jesus Christ, no! Don't encourage
The
it.
other people need to
Fucking
know about
terrible.
hands and feet.
Oh
It's
man,
not
all these
just
people
'cause-
are gonna come on here and they're gonna now if they actually like listen to the show, they're gonna come. They're
come
getting
for me.
infinity. No, there's gonna be a TikTok infinity
Nah,
symbol
fuck
fucking
that.
tattooing.
Don't get your hands and feet because it doesn't last. Not
That's
just
not
because you
true.
can't cover it up.
That is not true.
I've always
Depending
actually,
on
I've always
where it
actually
is
wanted to
and
get.
what you do for work.
And
I've actually
that's
wanted
still
to
not
get.
true.
I've always wanted to get a tattoo of it on the palm of my hand just to see.
You can't.
I wanted to do it as a. No, listen to me, man.
If you know
I
what
wanted
you're
Tell me I'm
doing,
wrong. It's fine.
No, I'm not gonna say
I've
that's wrong.
just
I'm
seen.
gonna-
No, her.
Hear me out.
You have
Hear me
no
out.
experience.
Hear me out. No, hear me out. I want to do it because I want it to show how many layers of skin are shit off my hands as a working man.
Oh, dude,
So
it's
that I'm gonna
ridiculous.
work that tattoo right off my fucking hand.
I've seen.
so
it.
even if
You know what I mean? It would almost put it into perspective
I've
for me.
s-
But
that's
you're
why
both
I said
wrong.
Like,
To go
I've
like,
seen it.
holy
you're
shit.
both wrong though,
All right, okay.
because you can be a non-working man and you can have baby soft fucking hands and get your palm tattooed and it can still come off if the artist that does it doesn't know how to tattoo a palm.
Okay.
You can get your hand tattooed and you can be a fucking working man, and if the artist knows what they're doing, that shit's gonna stay. Yes,
I guess
it
it'll
does
be
have
battle
some
between-
effect on how well it heals, but if someone knows what they're doing, the tattoo is not gonna completely disappear. Doesn't matter if it's a hand or foot or whatever else.
Completely disappear? No, but it's not gonna look like the day.
My next
But-
tattoo is
No
gonna be an
tattoo
hourglass.
is gonna
My
look
ne-
like the day it was done.
Laura,
So,
Laura, would
arms
you do?
compared to here, somebody like me, I don't care how you put it in.
If you go, so there's an artist in Britain, Luke Ashley. He strictly tattoos palms. Go to that man for a palm tattoo, and it will look fucking pristine.
That's the thing. It's so now you have to.
All right,
specialists
subscribers
for
to
that
So-
one thing.
Jobs
so,
Not
but for the
Steve.
general people
You heard
going
him.
around in America,
Go to somebody that knows what they're doing. Because I'm not gonna sit here and tell the secrets of how to tattoo a
No,
palm.
no.
Just because all these
That's
assholes
your-
that buy $40 Amazon tattoo
that's what you
guns
worked to
are gonna
learn.
fucking
You
do that.
learned that.
But
So Laura, I got a question for you.
yes,
Will you tattoo on the palm of my hand an hourglass?
do I have to? Because it's gross. I don't like the way it feels to tattoo a palm.
No, you don't have to.
But I will if you really want it.
And then we'll see how long it takes for that hourglass to disappear.
Till the sand runs out, Luke. But it does. It ultimately comes down to how well the tattoo is applied to the skin.
So I want to, real quick, we're running out of time. I want to just get to something, and I want to say, what is the worst situation you've ever been in as a tattoo artist?
Oh God.
What is like the worst thing? Like, tell me and the listeners a wild, like, Dylan's here. We all want to hear it.
There's
Like-
some.
Just like the craziest thing that's ever happened to you, like, in your doing this.
So I'm gonna actually kind of boil this down to a list of shit that people should not fucking do.
No, I'm like, yeah. Sorry, Taylor, I kicked the mic.
He kicked the mic. So, don't be a psycho. If your tattoo artist tells you, no, that's not going to work as a tattoo, don't throw a fucking tantrum and complain because you're not getting...
You have people in there like...
You have no fucking idea.
Like, bitch, I'm paying you.
Yes.
Yep. Oh,
No way.
Entitled
It's a
ass
real thing?
Entitlement.
fucking
Absolutely.
control freak people that...
Like, I want this, and I want it now, and
Yeah.
you're gonna fucking do it, and I'm paying you, and fuck that.
Yes.
Is that
And-
a real
Pay
thing?
somebody else.
Are you all hearing me out there? All you girls that talk like this? And
Oh,
so-
it's
I'm sorry,
guys
it's
too.
guys too.
Oh,
guys
it's fucking
too.
guys too.
Oh, And I've had to-
bro.
So I've
You know
had
what?
to... I've fired clients as clients before for shitty ass fucking behavior like that because...
We all know, I think, on
It's
the
a
show,
joke.
like, yeah, people suck.
People fucking suck.
Well,
Also-
that's total. We all know that, right?
No matter what job you're doing.
People fucking suck. I just can't believe it's a thing. Like, and
Oh, it's real. It's bad.
Have you ever kicked anybody out?
Yeah.
Have you been like, get the fuck out?
Yes.
Have they like refused to leave and been
Oh.
weird?
Yeah. We had a guy
We should have
recently.
started with this.
We had a guy recently who's batshit crazy, and we've had to call the cops on him before. We've had to kick him out before. Last time we kicked him out, he went and laid in the middle of fucking 202.
Come on.
Dead fucking serious. So he came in again the other day.
To protest you not testing.
He's just batshit crazy. Which I feel bad for the guy because he needs help. But came in the other day, we asked him to leave. He said he was going to use the bathroom first. And
Does he have the
pissed
money?
all over the floor.
Does he want a tattoo, or is he just coming in the studio because
He comes in with a framed, shitty drawing of Jesus every time.
Just put it on him and just
No,
do a community service.
I'm
man.
not being alone in the
Do a
same room with
community
that man.
service.
No.
Just freaking
No.
put it on him and kick
Not
him out the
worth
door.
it.
Maybe he
So,
won't even leave. Like,
Back
freaking-
to the list though. Stop, people. Stop shoving your fucking phone in your tattoo artist's face trying to show them a fucking TikTok video while they're tattooing you. Are you fucking stupid? They need to pay attention to what they're doing. They don't want to see your stupid fucking TikTok video. Nobody cares. Please stop doing that. I hate it.
This is great.
It drives me insane. I think it's the most
Like
obnoxious.
their own personal TikTok video?
Any
Or just
video.
a-
No, they're just watching it like, hey, look
Oh,
at
they're
this.
like,
Same
look at
thing
this.
goes
Like, this
for-
was never a thing. Like, dude, when I was getting tattooed, you sit down, you
You
shut
sit
up.
down and
you're
shut
done.
up. Thank you.
Oh,
When
I-
you get your tattoo, you get up, you say thank you, you pay, you tip, and you
I
leave.
thought that was
I
a
wish
thing.
that was still.
That's
in my
how it
house.
was.
I would never imagine.
Otherwise, you got kicked out and your ass kicked.
So it's
I would
become.
imagine it would be anything but that.
I
You know,
think
so I'm
2022.
actually.
That's why I love this. Let her finish the list.
I-
'cause I,
yeah,
gotta
no,
hear
I'm gonna
the,
be-
I gotta hear the rest of this. This is fucking brutal.
okay.
I'm just I'm completely blown away that this would
No,
be
I
a
know.
thing. But
People don't know how to act. So don't shove your phone in your. It doesn't matter if it's TikTok, a photo of your dog. I want to see your dog pictures, but not until later. Baby pictures, don't really care to see.
you're like a hairdresser, but just with a needle in your arm.
That's
doing
the
a
other
permanent-
thing.
Doing a permanent fucking.
I'm
tattoo.
not your
Leave
fucking
me the fuck alone.
therapist. I'm not your therapist. I have my own fucking issues that I have to deal with. I don't want to deal with your shit too, and I'm not qualified to give you advice on anything. My own life is a mess. Like, you don't want to hear my
I hope I
opinion.
didn't talk too much when I was getting my.
No,
tattoo
you're
done.
fine. You're a different story because I wanted to catch up with you anyway.
Yeah.
But
I
no,
fucked up.
no, your
Write
tattoo.
everything out.
I'm one of them people. God damn it.
You relinquished control. You were fine. No, your fucking tattoo artist does not watch Ink Masters, and they don't fucking
Or
care
any of the stupid
if you
TV
watch
shows.
Ink
Oh my
Masters.
God.
No, I don't fucking care that you watch it. I don't know anybody on the show. Don't care to see it. It's not fucking real life, and don't expect it to be like real life. You're not getting a whole back piece in 3 hours. Sorry.
Made for TV.
Ugh,
Script.
drives
Really,
me
everybody?
nuts.
Listen to that one. That is the most. If you guys have made it to the end of this podcast, that is the number one message that I would put out there for tattoo artists is do not believe what you see on TV.
Yes.
Fucking it is not real. It is not what it's like in the studio. It is not what it's really like for the rest of them out there. That is TV in Hollywood. Don't go there thinking for a second.
And listen to your tattoo artist's opinion because they want to put a good tattoo on you because that's a reflection of them. So if they tell you something's not going to heal well, or if it's too small to put detail in
They
it,
know your
they're
skin
the
better than you
professional.
know.
Correct. They're the professional, so take their advice because they're trying to do what's best
How
for
many
you.
people would you say you tattooed already? In there? Did
I
you
have
keep track? You should have had a clicker.
I have
Each
no
one.
clue. I'm not good at estimating
Hundreds.
numbers.
It's over. I mean, it's got to be a lot. So, your
A
tattoo
lot.
artist has tattooed many people before you, and they know skin, and they know human
Correct.
bodies
And just because
and how it
your
reacts.
brother, uncle, sister, or cousin got it doesn't mean
mean
it'll
it's
work
gonna
on
work
your
for you.
body.
Correct.
And doesn't mean the artist that gave it to him gave a shit.
Yeah.
Correct. And just because your buddy does it in his garage for cheaper doesn't
And no,
mean
vodka is
I
not-
do the same fucking thing.
And no, vodka or hard alcohol or Bacardi 151 is not a proper sterilizing thing.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And no, spit should not be used as Glide for your fucking tattoo needles. God, there's so many things I hate though.
Anti-nut, crush up ash and mix it with piss to poke with a needle
No.
if you're in jail.
No.
Yes.
Just wait
I
till
mean,
you-
if you're in
wait
jail,
till you get out.
it's free fucking game at
That's
that
it.
point.
Get your
but,
prison tat however
Right.
you can.
but don't bring that mentality.
Don't
into
bring that
the
mentality
shop.
to the real world.
Yeah.
Jesus. People out there trying stick and poke all the time. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I see it. I see really horrible.
I
versions
mean,
of it.
I tried to do the same thing in high school with a fucking big pen and a sewing needle. So, I get it if you're 16.
Just wait.
but-
It's worth it. It's worth the wait. Then you won't get AIDS.
You won't get AIDS. I can verify that.
And
So
get
what's-
something that's going to look good in 20 years. Listen to your tattoo artist.
Correct. Because
Oh,
they
yeah.
You
do
don't want a tattoo
It's
that
an
looks good
investment.
for 4 years, 2 years,
No,
1
understand
year.
that. Yeah.
This is something
Yeah.
that's supposed to, and just
It's
know
gonna
when
expand,
you're
it's
old
gonna
and wrinkly,
change.
don't matter.
The ink's
They're
gonna
gonna
change.
look old and wrinkly.
Thank you.
And it's just know that before you get it.
I hate when people are like, "What are you gonna do when you get old?" I'm like, "I'm gonna be fucking wrinkly when I'm old anyway.
Who
I may
gives
as
a
well be
fuck?
colorful.
Yep.
Like, I'm gonna look like shit when I'm 80, so why
Who
not
cares?
be happy and
Yeah.
look like shit? You
Yep.
know?
I'm gonna enjoy it for. I'm gonna enjoy it
gives
for
a
the
fuck?
60 years that I can, and,
And
I think
whatever happens,
personally,
then
you know what?
It doesn't hurt anybody. I'm the one in pain getting
Laura,
tattooed. Who the
Yep.
fuck cares
Laura,
what I do?
I
you know?
think a nurse that is going to have to deal with you later down the road, is going to appreciate all your tattoos.
Hopefully she's heavily tattooed too, so I can be like, "Honey, roll your sleeves up. We got this together."
The funny thing, I don't know if you found.
Oh, you want to
but
hear the story about this one?
New school nurses have trouble finding veins and tattoos. Old school nurses, no problem.
Come
Have
on,
you had that
really?
issue
You can
before?
feel it. Well,
That's
actually,
the thing.
you know what?
Old school nurses will actually feel it for
I
you.
have had somebody
New
tell
school
me.
nurses, they don't. For
Oh,
some reason,
I
I've
never
had
even
this
thought of
issue.
that.
They
I-
can't
never
find the
thought about that.
veins.
The nurse not being able to find the vein because you covered yourself up.
And I squeeze my arm. I got
Oh,
veins.
Jesus
I'm not
Christ.
a
Fucking
big dude.
see it.
Yeah.
Another thing that I never even thought about is like, what about skin cancer? Like, I go for
So,
screening
you
once
wanna
a
talk
year.
about
How
that?
the fuck do you find a
That's a
mole
good
when it's
topic.
covered over ink?
I can actually. So part of my nursing career, I actually specialized in removing skin cancers. I was in dermatology surgery, doing a specialized form of skin cancer removal surgery. So definitely, if you have a lot of tattoos, anything that starts bleeding randomly, get it checked out. And you should not be tattooing over any. Like, there's been people that have come in that have had questionable things on their skin. I'm not going to tattoo
Have you ever
over that.
saved anybody's life?
Actually, yes.
Like, by being like,
Yep.
Go check that.
You know,
Get
like-
that checked out.
Twice.
show me the area you want. And it's like, oh, shit.
One girl.
You should probably get that checked out before we tattoo you. You might be spending some more money on something more.
So one girl had a mole that didn't look right to me just because of my background. I do know what to look for. And I told her to get it checked out, and she kind of fucking rolled her eyes at me.
We never really talked about your background. What was your background?
Dermatology nurse. So I know skin.
Shit. Dermatology nurse turned tattoo artist. I couldn't think of a better person to be a tattoo artist.
That's the
right?
person you
Probably,
want tattooed.
right?
Yeah, that's literally the person
Someone
you
who
want
has
tattooed.
our background and
and
skin
a derm
background. Yeah.
I mean, that's what kind of like
led you
I
to
felt
all
like
roads
ultimately
led to
that's
that.
where I need to go. Yeah. But the one girl, she finally eventually got it looked at, and she messaged me almost a year later and was like, "It's melanoma, so I'm having it removed."
Christ.
Yeah.
That's so cool though that you're able to like, in a way. I mean, that's why Laura is my tattoo artist.
You spend a lot of time in the sun. The good thing she only got a check.
I got a two. I got a 2 for 1. I got a
farmer's dad
dermatology
just
report
checked
and
your back
and
and your
Seriously,
and a tattoo.
I'm a fucking weirdo. I'll be like putting a
You're not a
stencil on
weirdo,
somebody,
you
and I'm
are
like,
literally-
"Hold on, is this mold been here
You are
forever?
literally like
I don't like it.
you are
There's
like
something."
a prodigy of like a person. To
I
be a
kicked the
tattoo.
mic,
It's-
too.
It's so
Did I fuck up?
yeah.
Sorry.
It's so it just seems so perfect for you. It seems like it all just kind of fell together like perfectly for you.
I mean, you make it sound easy. I definitely.
I just mean in the sense of like your travels from being
So
an artist to a nurse, and then back and then to a tattoo into a not only a nurse, a dermatology nurse,
right.
and then combining the two almost into the field you're in now, and finding
Skin
like peace in that, right?
beautification.
Have you found
I-
peace in it? Are you done? Is this it? Is this your retirement gig?
I
Like,
mean,
are you happy?
who knows? I love what I do.
Is there a lifespan for tattoo artists? Like, do you get
Oh, yeah.
carpal tunnel? Do
Yep.
you get all that shit? Like,
It's horrible on your body. Terrible for your back. Terrible
Always
for your
hunched
fucking hand.
over.
For your wrists. Yep. I have.
so how,
Issues.
how much?
How much time do I have left?
Yeah, pretty much.
Who knows?
Until you start fucking producing bad tattoos.
You don't get a 401k or a retirement plan, or we pay taxes. I'm self-employed, so I pay tax at the end of the year. I don't get a tax return. I'm not W-2.
No, and you're in charge of your own retirement.
There's no sick pay. There's no vacation time. If I don't work, I don't get paid.
You're that
Feast or
kid.
famine.
You're
Feast
that
or
kid.
famine. There's slow season. We're going into slow season. Luckily, I have enough clientele that I'm booked up through slow season, which is a whole nother struggle in itself because you can't do shit if you're booked up. If you're booked too far out, you can't do anything. That's a whole nother discussion.
And
Though.
COVID hit you guys real bad.
COVID
Too.
fucking sucked.
I mean, that was nothing. Like you said, with no sick pay, no retirement, no nothing.
3 months.
You're done.
No work. And you
Yeah.
want to know how much the
This is
unemployed
like-
self-employment was? $190 a week. That's not even my grocery bill trying to feed 2
Absolutely.
teenage boys.
That's-
So
Absolutely.
we're approaching over an hour here, guys. I hate to squash the fun, but literally, I think we're gonna have to pick this up on the second session.
There's a lot. There's so much more.
I could go
we
on for
can
more
go
hours,
into.
so I'm
Yeah,
totally cool with
absolutely.
the second
I mean,
session.
do you guys? All right, can we? Taylor, what do you think? Do you got more time? Do you got more time? Can we record this? Can we keep going? So one of the things that I'm realizing as I go into this project and bring people in on their jobs is that an hour is not nearly enough time
No.
to cover some of the subjects with these people. So what I want to do is I just want to wrap up here, and I want to thank you again for coming in.
My
I
pleasure.
want to
Thank you
again
for having
coming
me.
in.
Oh, anytime.
And I want you to come back. Is that a possibility? Can we get you back
Yes.
in?
Let's schedule it before I leave so I don't
Okay.
fucking disappear. If it's
And
in my calendar, I'll be there.
Yeah, and then we're like, and I don't know, like audience, there's going to be a part 2 to this because I think we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's. I mean, we didn't even get into that many good stories. I'm sure you got hundreds.
Oh, I got so many.
Yeah. No, this is.
So, yeah. So ultimately, there's going to be part 2.
Yeah,
There's going to be part 2
I'm
tomorrow.
excited. This was a
The
fun.
tattoo-
I really enjoyed this conversation.
The girl with the tattoo. The girl.
With the.
The girl with the, what is it?
Oh, I do have a dragon tattoo.
The girl with the dragon tattoo.
I have one right here.
We are going full-length feature, girl with the dragon tattoo, and an hour was just not enough, and so everybody's coming back in the studio again, and we're gonna pick this up. In the meantime, we'll talk about other jobs and other things and stuff like that, and then we'll follow up again when the schedules are good. This has been such a pleasure. I mean,
Thank you again
this
for
has
having
been
me.
eye-opening. I mean, for me in general. I mean, you both clearly know more about tattooing than I do.
I'm not. She is in the industry. I hung around it a lot for probably 10 years, but I've been out of it for 10 years.
You
so
learn a lot from that.
She's the the teacher. Let me tell you, she knows her shit.
You are, and just real quick, I mean, like, I'm just gonna say this, and you can do it again. And I feel like you've already covered this. What is the message that you would say to the world right now, if you and on this platform, like?
Be a good fucking human being and be kind to other people. Everybody needs to just stop being an asshole all the time. Everybody's in such a rush. We're all caught up in our own shit. We all have our own issues. So just be kind. It's not hard.
Good message.
That is. I mean,
I like that.
couldn't have said it any better.
No, I really can't. I can't argue with that.
Plain and simple, to the point. Don't be an asshole. Be kind. Treat
Yeah.
people the way you want to be treated. Is the oldest thing in the world, right?
That's it.
Thank you guys for coming on so much, and I hope that we helped some people out today with this, and I can't wait to do it again, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, me too.
So this is Laura, Tattoo Artist, to be continued, and with Dylan, of course. Sorry, buddy, I'm dragging you back in the studio again.
No, that's fine. I enjoyed it.
So thank you everybody for listening, and tune in next week. We're gonna do another show, and yeah, thank you all, and have a good night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.